Alright guys, it's been a crazy ass week, but I'm here to do some reactions. I found some time, miraculously. So, Ren, Sick Boy Part 2. Let's get right into it. So, this might be the choir that he sampled, in the first Sick Boy. It sounds similar, but let's keep going.
Sick boy, allopathic script boy, pathogenic, schizophrenic, call it medic, quick boy, just wanna scratch the itch boy, agoraphobic, multi-psychosis, own it, I'm that sick boy, nothing to lose, nothing to win or to prove.
So immediately you're getting right into it. He said pathogenic schizophrenic, and then he mentioned just trying to scratch that itch, which he was diagnosed with Lyme's disease, which my understanding is that it simply comes from being bitten by a tick and then not getting treatment for it immediately. So I think that's what he's referring to with the just trying to scratch an itch, and that, you know, the expression of, like, you know, scratching an itch, or like the itch you can't scratch. You know, obviously he tried many times to get diagnosed, a proper diagnosis, and I mean, he was diagnosed with you know, psychosis by psychologists and all these different things. So well, let's keep going.
Agoraphobic, multi-psychosis, own it, I'm that sick boy, nothing to lose, nothing to win or to prove, nothing but holes in my shoes, nothing but nothing, I'm hustling, bustling, pain is a paradox I didn't choose, nothing but truth, nothing but fire in the booth, nothing that you could do I couldn't do, nothing that you could do better.
Hey, shout out to Fire in the Booth. You guys in the UK have a his name's Charlie Sloth on BBC One Extra. The Fire in the Booths, man, I've done a bunch of reactions to stuff like that, so I don't know if, obviously Fire in the Booth is like, you know, if you're producing Fire in the Booth, you're doing well with your lyricism and your rapping or singing ability, more so with rap. But okay, let's keep going. I won't talk too much right now.
Wanna scratch the itch boy, agoraphobic, multi-psychosis, own it, I'm that sick boy, nothing to lose, nothing to win or to prove, nothing but holes in my shoes, nothing but nothing, I'm hustling, bustling, pain is a paradox I didn't choose, nothing but truth, nothing but fire in the booth, nothing that you could do I couldn't do, nothing that you could do better, forget all the others, I'm aiming at you. Cytotoxic, diagnostic, catastrophic news, since I got sick, no for one, the pain it comes in twos, catatonic, antipsychotics, beta blockers, antibiotics, watch the clock, take quick the lock, pay quick, let's dip, get loose.
Guys, if you don't like the pausing, I don't care. Like I've said it before, I can't not address these things. So he said my pain comes in twos. I wonder if he's talking about his dual diagnoses of the psychological diagnosis as well as the medical diagnosis. I wonder if that's what he's referring to, because my understanding is he was bedridden and had a lot of physical pain, and then psychologists were essentially trying to diagnose, like, hey, why is this happening? You know, attributing it to the psychology. So I don't know if that's what he's referring to in that line. That is the best thing I can draw from that, but let's give a quick re-listen. I'll rewind it here a little bit.
Catastrophic news, since I got sick, no for one, the pain it comes in twos, catatonic, antipsychotics, beta blockers, antibiotics, watch the clock, take quick the lock, pay quick, let's dip, get loose. Wait for a minute, I'm struggling with it, I'm doubling down and I'm doubling digits, I live with the pain and forgive it, cause bitterness eats you alive when you're in it, admit it, then flip it, then rip up the script, it's fitting that I have been screaming at demons that visit, I'm feeling so rigid, I lean on religion, but God said I'm laughing, I'm burning my bridges. Car crash, whiplash, ambulance, body bags, zip back, it's a game of circumstance, wrong turn, everything can all collapse, get burned, back inside the relapse, crack, stay stacked back to back, and I'm back on my back inside the counter attack, pop Prozac, knock it back, wash it down and relax, and that's that, subtract, collapse, react, adapt.
Yeah, so I think he was, because he mentions Prozac, he said antipsychotics and antibiotics. Antipsychotics are obviously for a psychiatric treatment of a mental health disorder. And then antibiotics are to eliminate a bacteria that could be causing a larger health issue. So I think that might be what he meant by the pain comes in twos. Yeah, let's keep going. This is interesting. Personally, as far as the beat goes, I prefer so far. I mean, I'm halfway through the song, so we'll see where it goes. But I definitely prefer the sickboi, the first sickboi. I really liked that beat. I mean, there were different. There was like a little bit of a techno element, but it was more of just like a traditional hip hop element, and then almost like a Kanye West esque sampling, like early 2000s Kanye's music. Guys, I'm not talking about Kanye's statement. I'm not talking about anything like that. Go back to Kanye's music in the early 2000s. And he did use, a lot of vocal and soul samples. I liked the high-pitched choir tone at the end of the lines in the first sickboi. That was definitely something I liked about it. But I mean, that's not to say that this is a bad beat either. It's just I have a certain preference for a certain kind of beat that I like, but that doesn't mean that this is any less artistic. And that's something that a lot of people don't seem to realize when it comes to artistry is like, well, I might prefer, like, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So it's like I might prefer a painting of a tree, but somebody else might prefer a painting of a flower. Now, they could both be done very well, but obviously if I like one, to me, it's like me even saying this is like, does this really need to be said? But some people do tend to misinterpret. Like if I say I prefer a certain kind of, like a certain artist or a certain beat or a certain thing about that music, you might think, you might think on face value, like, oh, he's saying this is a bad beat. It's like, no, It's a new thing to see kind of EDM and like techno elements in a on like a hip hop type beat. For me, it's not preferable, but for once again, that's not to say that this is any less artistic from a hip hop production standpoint. So let's keep going. Now, I will say there is more complexity. I'd have to listen to the sickboi, the first one, right before actually doing this reaction, which I did not do. But it almost seems like is more complexity in this beat and more elements. To me, it sounds a little bit more like technological and like electronic, which is fine. But it does seem like there's more complexity in this one. Maybe I haven't heard the song in a while, so a while meaning like a week. So don't quote me on that, but let's keep going.
Once upon a time that was not long ago, there lived a boy inside his mind. Sometimes the thought would overflow and grow until they blinded the boy, he decomposed. And if you read between the lines of his story, you will know that there is method to his madness, prerequisite for his sadness. For there must be catalysts which exist to explain his status. Extract it and look right at it. His panic was formed in fragments that happened from lack of passion, attacking his hippocampus. Back to the story where
So scientists have been able to identify specific parts of the brain that get damaged over time with certain medical conditions, or like, let's say in your middle school years, if you lack socialization, or even in your adult years, if you lack socialization, and it kind of makes sense if there's less blood flow going to a certain part of the brain because it's not being exercised and used, it's eventually going to like shrink over time. I don't know. You guys inform me if I'm wrong, but like that's my like caveman monkey way of understanding it is like, I mean, if you're not exercising or using a part of the brain, or like specifically, like if you're under a lot of physical pain, it can increase your cortisol. And then I believe, there's more blood flow constantly to the amygdala as opposed to like your processing centers of your brain. The amygdala is more the fear response. Like one of the interesting things that I came across, I'm not an expert, but one of the interesting things I came across was after doing long extended cardio, the blood flow to the amygdala dropped significantly, and the blood flow to the cognitive processing, I'm sure I'm butchering this, but basically the blood flow to the cognitive processing and rationalization increases. And like if you don't exercise, or if you don't like if they're incredibly physically stressed but like there's no outlet, then over time, like it there are these different effects. I don't know, I find it incredibly fascinating, which is why I'm banging on about it right now. But I've definitely I definitely there has to be things to it, because I've met people who, I mean, physical sickness changes people mentally, not all the time, but oftentimes there are mental effects of a physical sickness. And I think a lot of it has to do with like the stress hormones and how that affects the brain over time, I'm sure. And then probably also like a socialization, and like, are you doing, like, you maybe you used to be working and then you were, disabled due to a sickness, and then now you're not, and so you don't feel as productive. Like there's probably a lot of different elements that go into it, but certainly, like, having a physical, I can speak for myself, like when I do get injured, or like if I have, like, I have lower back problems, because I do a lot of manual labor, so like if I don't stretch out, if I don't do what I need to do, and I'm having like a specific ache and a pain, like I feel, now I'm able to push through it now a lot more than I used to be able to, which I don't know that that's medically good for me, but I do it. And so for me, it definitely is like, if I have a physical ailment, it affects my brain. And I think a lot of it is my understanding is like cortisol. An overwhelming amount of cortisol not balanced correctly with the other stress hormones, I think, is what causes a major problem over time. Now, you guys let me know what you know, because every time I read my videos, someone's like, well, actually, it's kind of more like this, which is great. I love that. I can't stand the comments that are like, well, you completely missed, and they like, it's like, dude, I didn't claim to be an expert on anything. But either way, anyway, guys, you guys inform me definitely of what I'm missing, but this is just my basic caveman understanding of it once again. Let's keep going. This is going to be a longer Ren reaction, but most of the Ren people keep telling me, like, no, we like to hear your thoughts and hear you talk about things, so I guess I'm going to do that, see what happens. Here we go, guys.
The story begins. There was a boy, he was confused by the world that he lived in. A world where profit is religion and to knock it is sin. A world where profit spread the word of putting profit over kin. Sink or swim, blood that is thicker than...
I like that. The profit, where the profit spread, that profit should be put over your kin, like your children and like community. Yeah, I like that.
The indifference, he grew thick skin. See it for what it is, resist and take a hit on the chin. Anti-capitalist, a rationalist, a war, it shall begin. On the greedy who mislead the people, it starts from within. Are you in it to win, or are you in it for a purpose that exists outside your skin? When you're in it, is it worthless to resist? Begin again. Are you screaming on the surface? Are you like me? Are you in?
Man, it all starts from the source. Like, what is your motivation for doing it? Now, I would like to do, like, full disclosure, I would like to do a YouTube channel full time at some point. I still work a construction job, and I do 40 hours a week, and I've got family obligation. Like, I'm busy. I would like to do YouTube full time, but at the end of the day, a big thing for me, like, finding the time after 40 hours a week, and then a 5-year-old, and then wife, like, it's a lot to find the time and motivation after all of that to do reactions. And so the biggest thing it's come down to for me is, like, I love music. I love analyzing music. I love enjoying music. I love digesting it, and I do like sharing it. And so for me, like, the biggest motivation is, yeah, like, I'm not going to sit here and lie. There's a financial motivation eventually to where, like, I would like to be able to have all my bills paid and do what I love. I don't know if I'll be able to do that at some point, but I'm just going to keep doing this because I enjoy the music, and I think the financial thing will come eventually. But it's essentially what Ren's talking about is, like, well, it comes from within. What is your motivation for starting a YouTube channel? What is Ren's motivation for making this music? Is he making the music, and so here's an interesting thing too, is there's a big trade-off, is like, okay, let's say you're a musician and you really like, let's just play a game. You really like a really, like, niche alternative sound that doesn't really have much of a mass appeal, but you find out that rap is, in the US, I can't speak for other places, but rap is an incredibly common, like, you get in the car with some people and they might play a rap song at some point, and it's just like a thing. And you realize that the alternative music is only going to be able to reach so many people. And you might think to yourself, okay, so like this album, I believe, is mostly a hip hop album. So for somebody like Ren, it's like, okay, well, if you liked, once again, theoretical game, let's say Ren likes a really weird alternative sound and like, no, not a huge popular thing. What if Ren believes he has an important story and a message, and that one of the best ways to spread that message and impact and uplift the most people is to do it, in a hip hop format, and then also have the alternative stuff. Like, I don't know how I have no idea. I'm just pontificating here. But yeah, it definitely comes from within. Like you can, like I've heard almost every Eminem song before 2010, maybe even like 2011. There's probably some that I haven't heard, but I've heard most of them. I could easily fake reactions. I don't know about easily, but if I did a bunch of reactions to a bunch of old Eminem and like even some newer Eminem, like I've heard Killshot and the MGK, like I've heard that beef. If I did a reaction to that and like plot it out, like, oh, this is how I'm going to react on this line, this is how I'm going to, and then just turn into like a full actor, I could probably build a YouTube channel a lot faster, and it would probably help my pocket a lot quicker. Like who knows, maybe I'd be able to quit a job and like do YouTube full time. But for me, it's like, I want people to see what I'm doing and see my reaction and be like, oh, this is it. They don't question whether or not it's a genuine reaction. Because there's reactions I've done where like, I'm like, hey guys, this isn't like this, the lyrical content of this is actually not that great. And some people have gotten mad at me. But the biggest thing for me is like, I think people want to see a genuine reaction to a song. And I just realized I'm just kind of ranting and talking here, but I'll kind of cut it off here and let's finish out the song. I'm sorry, not sorry, whatever.
In again, are you screaming on the surface? Are you like me? Are you in?
Little switch up at the end. Is that the Garden of Eden? The birds chirping? I'm not entirely sure what he was saying in those vocals. That's an interesting way to take the song out. A switch up and then kind of this like peaceful, tranquil nature sounds. That's interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting way to take out a song that's because the ending is just like this more natural sound, and the beginning is like this kind of techno electronic, and then he brings it back to like the nature sounds. I almost feel like that could be in and of itself like, hey, let's bring it back to the roots of living a more natural life in congruence with what we actually need to consume and what we actually need financially. Knowing some of like Ren's complexity and the thought that he puts into his music, I almost think that could be a meaning drawn from that, because I was not expecting that. I was definitely not expecting that, but incredibly interesting. I'm gonna have a few more reactions I'll be doing. I'll wrap this one up, guys. I hope I didn't talk too much, but if I did, okay, you live, you learn. Oh well. Yeah, you guys take care, stay safe, and take care of your loved ones wherever you are watching the video from.